All right, what's up, family? We are back for my Astro series, and right now we're going to talk about the sixth house. So, we went into what Virgo was about, and the sixth house is ruled by Virgo, and it is where Mercury loves to have its office. Mercury is actually better placed in the sign of Virgo than Gemini, and it is exalted in the sign of Aquarius. We'll dive deeper into those things later. The sixth house. The sixth house is all about where we can find our habits, how we work, our work ethic, as well as our health. Sixth house is duty, responsibility, work ethic, mastery. How do you like to work? Do you like to work? What sectors do you like to work in? And how well do you collaborate with your employees, employers, or your coworkers? Sixth house is the house that gets shit done. Period. That is the sixth house. You're either getting it done or you're not. So by noticing what sign you have in the sixth house, you can really tell your work ethic. The sixth house does get this rep of being all work and no play because that's what it is. It's work, it's building habits so that you can have longevity in the things that you do. And the reason why the sixth house is so important is because right after the sign of Virgo, we have Libra, and Libra is about business contracts and working with other people. Once you pass the first six signs, you get into the signs and the houses that pertain to the other. If you don't have good habits for yourself, if you don't have a good work ethic, if you're not a healthy person, and if you're just not disciplined and grounded in doing the things that need to be done to manifest projects, you're not going to have successful relationships because you don't have a stable and disciplined relationship with yourself. So it's really important to check to see what sign you have in that sixth house, and it can show you what areas you might work in and how your work schedule is, how you like to work. For example, I have Libra in my sixth house, and I also have the planet Venus in my sixth house as well. So with having Venus in the house of work, it brings a person who loves what they do. For me, my work is what I enjoy. I can do it as a job and I can do it as leisure for play. And that's how I like to live my life. I love to do the things that I enjoy, and I don't partake in things that I don't want to invest my energy and time into. Because the sixth house is also the ruler of health, with having Venus in this house, I am very, very in love with sweets. And I have to be very, very disciplined in the amount of sugar I intake because Venus is about indulgence. And I have such a large sweet tooth. I love cakes and cookies. It might not look like it, but I love it. And because of this, I have to be very, very mindful and more disciplined about my food habits because I can indulge if you leave me at my leisure. With also having Libra in the sixth house, it is a person who does do well in the work environment, is very harmonious in the work environment. And because of this harmony, I am able to have a lot of business deals and contracts and just meeting people in different ranks in the job and work environment. Because the sixth house also rules health and diets, depending on the zodiac sign that you have here, it can showcase a possible issue in the body part that zodiac sign rules, depending on your diet. So for example, Virgo is the ruler of the sixth house. If you have Virgo in this sixth house and you don't take care of your diet, you will have a lot of issues with your intestines. You will have digestive issues, you will have stomach issues, and lots of anxiety, which starts in the gut. So gut health is super, super, super important when you're dealing with the sixth house. And because sixth house is the house of work, depending on the sign that you have here, it can showcase if you might have issues with your boss as well as your coworkers. For example, if you have Aries in the sixth house, or let's say you have any fire sign actually in the sixth house, it can be a person who, yes, is a boss or a leader, especially with Aries and Leo, but it can be a person who might want their employees to be subordinate to them. And that's going to cause public enemies and friction in the work environment. Virgo, being the ruler of the sixth house, Virgos are very neutral. They're not too much and they're not too little. They're very logical. So they know what needs to be done in order for the greater good. It's not, for Virgo energy, it's not about being the leader. It's about doing what needs to be done so the project can be the best that it can be. So because Virgo rules this house, it's very neutral in terms of how it gets along with bosses as well as employees. But if you have a sign that is malefic, like Aries or like Capricorn. Capricorn will do pretty well in this house. But signs that rule power, Scorpio, control, dominance, you are going to have public enemies in the work environment, because if you don't get along with people you work with, then people are going to try to get you out. The sixth house is all about how we refine our creative expression. So remember, the fifth house is taking your ideas that make you unique and creatively expressing it to the world. Sixth house is about how do we refine those creative ideas and build mastery and discipline so that we can have longevity in the future. Virgo, being the ruler of the sixth house, is the middle earth sign before we get to Capricorn. And Capricorn is about legacy, what you're known for, what you leave here before you go. And by knowing the sign or the planet that you have in this sixth house can really show you where you might want to refine these natural gifts that you kind of have, but they need tuning, they need refining. And if you would just build a little bit more mastery in those gifts and areas, you can use that to build something of legacy and longevity. Sixth house is the environment where we can see where you like to do your acts of service. You have, let's say, Pisces in the sixth house. Your acts of service can be in a more mystical way. You can be a healer. You can be maybe a reader, a tarot reader, an astrologer. You can probably work with animals. Also, something to really keep in mind, sixth house is never satisfied because it's about improvement. Whatever you have in this house, you will never be satisfied in it. For example, let's say you have Leo in this sixth house, and Leo is all about artistic expression. Because you have Leo in this sixth house, you will not be satisfied with your work. You will constantly try to find ways of improving, making it better, doing things differently. And with Leo in this sixth house, because Leo is more free flowing and Virgo is more conservative, it can really cause a strain on your ability to artistically express yourself. So figuring out what sign and what planet you have in this house can show areas that you might never feel confident enough in it being just what it is. And that's something to work on and work through as you understand your chart more and move through the other stages of your chart. All right, that's all we have for today for our sixth house. Remember, sixth house is about duty, responsibility, mastery, and craftsmanship. Next, we are going to dive into the lovely Libra. And after coming from all of this work, we can go back into having some fun and playfulness. Thank you for tuning in to my Astro series. My name is Sade, and I hope to see you for our next segment.